I still wish I was there. And it was really, as far as music growing, you know, people talk about retro. I mean, that was real time. There was no retro. There was no standard set prior to these guys hitting it, other than, you know, the legendary, you know, black blues musicians, you know, living in the South. And these guys took that and cranked it up through a Marshall or, you know, Fenders prior to that, you know, and they just redefined a whole sound that everybody's still using today. Everybody's still trying to go back and try to get that sound or try to play like those guys. And, you know, where's the new young guy that plays like Jeff Beck or even tries to attain such greatness as any of those guys, or Jimmy? Or, it's like we live in an anti-Guitar Hero era right now, which is...
There's kind of a resurgence of garage band sound.
Yeah. I mean, I can dig that, but, I mean, where's the virtuoso?
Exactly.
Where's the virtuoso in the garage band?
Right.
That's what I think was so great about the Yardbirds, is like there was a rawness to the rhythm section and the vocals, but there was also another level of some other kind of, I can't put my finger on what the adjective is, but it was just an accidental marriage of standard blues and 60s psychedelia, you know?
It was kind of a, you know, I listened to the White Stripes, the Strokes, and some of these bands that are just, you know, kids kind of grasping. It's almost like they're back in the '60s, starting all over again. And the one thing that they don't have is the genius of the guitar.
I have to agree with you. I mean, there's no, those guys are, you know, they're great little garage bands, but I mean, they sound like guys that have been playing for a couple of years and just have the spirit, but they don't have the chops.
Right.
And I hate to sound like an old guy saying that, but, you know, but they still want to get out there and get drunk and chase girls, which is probably the reason why anybody ever picked up a guitar, besides the way it sounds. There's a certain power that you have when you plug in an electric guitar to a really loud amp that sounds good. And even if you just go like that, I mean, it moves air. It moves your spirit. And these cats were doing that. I mean, these guys would sit there with the massive stacks behind them, actually all plugged in, instead of the jive-ass wall of stacks with one plugged in, which is still fucking loud. These cats were living it, man. They were doing it, and they were bleeding it in the clubs and just breaking every rule you could possibly break. You know, Pete Townsend breaking the guitar. I mean, these guys, I wish I was an English kid in 1965, at the same age as those guys, and just hanging out in the clubs, digging it all real time. Because I got it listening to records and watching whatever little film there is on them, which is amazing because everything's videoed now, everything's DVD'd, everybody's got 9 million performances, but performances of all those guys, I mean, how many Yardbirds performances are on film? They were like in a movie once or something like that. I mean, whatever you might have seen on Top of the Pops, where they're actually like lip syncing, but not, you want to see them playing.
Yeah.
I want to see Becco fucking, you know, humping the amp and stuff like that. You know, you know, I want to see, you know.
And you just don't see that.
You can't see it, man. I mean, if somebody had that footage, they'd be a rich person right now. Imagine what you could get on eBay for that.
Exactly.
We're trying to track that. We're trying to track some of that footage down. There are,
Sure you
there
are.
is film.
Hey, all right. Hey, look at this, man. See, it comes in tune. My guitars are always in tune. You come right. You always hear about the tune 'em at the factory. My man at Music Man, they tune them at the factory. All right.
So you got a chance to listen to the record. Other than your performance, which I think is brilliant.
Oh, thanks, man. Fuck. I was just trying to do it.
What about some of the other guest performances on the record?
Well, it was really interesting how everybody came to it. I mean, I was really intrigued by Satch's approach. Like, he brought in, it got his telly out, and he played completely different than I've ever heard him play before. And I thought that was great. I mean, Slash, these guys are all friends of mine, people that I respect very much, you know, and I was really just knocked out to see just how it actually fit. I mean, it's really hard to fit a square peg in a round hole, you know. I mean, how do you do it better than the original? You can't do it better than the original. It's not possible. But there was a spirit to it that I think all of us came to, and I mean, when I did my track, I mean, how could I not think of Jeff, you know? I mean, Jeff's my favorite guitar player. I mean, it's like, it doesn't get any better than that. And it's kind of daunting to go in and go like, well, how am I going to do this, you know? And knowing that maybe all those cats might hear it, what are they gonna think? Oh, hey, did you fuck up my tune, man? Even though it was a long time ago, you still have to pay respect to it without trying to copy it. I mean, there's some things, some licks you have to play. Otherwise, it's just not the song. But when it comes to the time to blow a solo or something like that, you kind of got to. I just forgot about it, and in the spirit of the moment, just went for it, and it came out good. I mean, I think, all the guys, Steve's trip on Shapes of Things, he really, it's Steve Vai, and there's only one Steve, but he still kept in the spirit of things without copying any of the licks. I think everybody was really good about that, and I think it worked.
Staying
Within the boundaries of it,
band, yeah.
but still being able to, put a little bit of something new to it,
So Chris and Jim, were they there when you?
Yeah, they were. I mean, I was really stoked. I was a fan. I brought my I brought a CD, so you guys signed my record. And she took pictures with it. I'm a fan. I mean, I still am. I'm a fan of great music, and I have a lot of respect for the people that came before me, and I think that's really important. I think some young cats these days maybe need to look at that a little better.
They were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and they decided pretty much right after that they had something more to say. The new songs on the record, tell me a little bit about your feelings about that.
I mean, it's amazing. It's almost a snapshot in time, but yet now. I mean, I love how the vocals were done, like the doubles were just a little loose and stuff. It wasn't all buffed out. But I don't think any Pro Tools were used, as far as I know, I mean, and it keeps it real. It keeps them sounding the way they used to sound, but still in a current sort of way. The new guys in the band sound like they were there the whole time, for the most part, and I really enjoyed it. I've clocked it twice already, and I find myself just leaving it on in the room. It makes me smile. Because nobody makes music like that anymore, in the spirit of that, from that era. I mean, we live in a time now where if you're over 30 years old, they want to set you out to pasture already, for God's sake, Which is, remember that movie Wild in the Streets, 14 or Fight, They put the people that are 30 years old, they feed them LSD and put them in a camp somewhere, and the kids run the country. Imagine if that was for real.
Or Logan's Run, where
Logan's
it's
Run.
30 and out.
Yeah, they want to take you out.
30 and out. It was a pleasure to work on it. When it first started, the looseness kind of was driving me nuts. Basically, when we were doing the tracks, and when it all finally came together, that's what drew me to it. The rawness of the band.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I dug about it. Because everything you hear now on the radio is so meticulously fixed. I own a recording studio. Major producers use it. Young bands go in there. I know what they do to make it sound the way it does. And it's to the point now where young kids go in the studio, they play a couple of takes, they go, oh, you could fix that. I'm going to go. Whereas when we were kids, man, you played until your fingers were raw, till you got the take. I mean, back in the day, these guys weren't doing overdub after overdub after overdub. They were, maybe if they had one extra track, it was like, woo, what a luxury. But all that shit was going down real time. All those sounds were like, Jeff, I remember reading about Jeff telling me, they had these shitty little fuzz tones and stuff like that, and they thought sounded like rubbish, which is part of the magic of the sounds. They plug it in, they get this nasty-ass sound and make genius out of it. Whereas a lesser musician, it would just sound like crap. And, they were, all those boxes and all those little things and all these guitars and amps, I mean, what we call vintage now was a brand new guitar. You know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, I'll take that telly off the wall. I'll play that on that one. You know what I mean? Oh, that Les Paul. That's a couple years old. 1958.